Okay, so a little background on this video here. Got my X-Maxx, one of the first 8S X-Maxxes that came out back in 2017. Wife and kids bought it for me for Christmas, the year they came out. And I used to joke with people that the only original part left on it were the actual shock bodies. And that's true. That's the only original piece that was left on it, was the original shock bodies. So last summer, just for grins, I went on Jenny's RC and I bought a set of the Ultra shocks, the Ultimate, the shocks that come off the X-Maxx Ultimate, because it comes with the aluminum caps and the aluminum adjusters here, and it comes with the tin coated shafts. Now I don't know if it's I don't know if they do something different when they tin coat the shafts or whatever. I know the tin coating doesn't give it any more strength. The only thing the tin coating does is make it slide easier. But I have bent more shock shafts in the last couple of months running these tin coated shafts than I think I did the whole time I've owned this X-Maxx. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to take these 5mm shafts out and we're going to replace them with these GPM 7mm shafts. If you can get a good look at that part number or not, but I will put a link to it in the description below. Okay, so because I run the different springs on the front and rear, that's why you see tape, some painter's tape on the top of these, because these come off the front, these come off the rear. I'm not going to show you all 4 shocks. We'll do 2 of them, and then we'll go from there. And no, I didn't show taking them off the truck. Everybody should know how to take an X-Maxx shot. Well, I guess everybody should know, but it's pretty simple to remove the X-Maxx shocks. Okay, so first I want to open up a set of these because I want to talk about, I'm going to call it the elephant in the room. Okay, when I got these in, and I saw it on the website, you see these little white, they call them shims on the website. Okay, they're little white shims. I could find no information anywhere online. I searched Google, I searched Facebook. Nobody could tell me what these were, where they went, you know, what they're supposed to be for. Some people thought they were dampeners and you put them on the end in here. Some people said they would limit the travel and lower it down a little bit. I finally got the answer on these. Inside, if you take one of these apart, inside here are those same shims. Okay, if you change the thicker one out with one of these thinner ones, it changes the dampening on this shock. Okay, so that's what they are. So you can change the dampening effect on the shock itself. We're not going to put these on. Okay, we're just going to keep them the way they are. All right, so let's set a couple of these out of the way. Let's start tearing this thing apart. Okay, I recently changed the fluid in these. So I'm not going to do this the way typical people would probably do it, which is pulling the top off. And you got to remove your spring first anyway, regardless of how you do it. But most people get this thing out of here. Pull your perch, pull your spring. Most people, they're going to pull the top, take nut off shaft, pull shaft out, do all that, right? I just changed my fluid. I'm not doing that. Okay, what I'm going to do is just pull the cartridge out of the bottom here of this shock. And people are going to say, well, you can't get all the air out of it that way and all that. And I get it, okay? I'm not worried. I'm a big jumper. Man, this thing doesn't have to, you know, I'm not trying to make a monster truck handle like a Corvette, okay? So all I really care is that it's full. I don't care if it's 100%, if I get 100% of the air bubbles out of this thing. But if you wanted to, even after you put it back together, these have weep holes in them right there. You could loosen it up and bleed your air out of them pretty easily. Loosen the tops just a little bit and bleed your air. So what I do when I do these, I don't know if you can really see this, but I make sure the fluid is filled right to where the threads start. Okay, this one appears that it was leaking a little bit, and it appears to be a little low on fluid. So we're going to put some more fluid in it. I run 40 weight all the way around. There's a reason for that. I know guys like going thicker, especially the big jump guys like going thicker. The reason I run the 40 weight all the way around is I have the M2C Pistons on it. So we're going to top that off to that bottom of where those threads start. Okay, we're going to set this right here, get it out of the way. All right, now the only thing we're going to change is we're going to take this piston off, this M2C piston off, and we're going to stick it on this shaft. Man, look at the difference in the size of those shafts. That's crazy how big 2 millimeter difference is. Okay, so I'm going to grab my tool over here. If you own a bunch of Traxxas cars, you probably own one of these. And we're just going to take this thing loose. Just grab a hold of it. It shouldn't be very tight anyway, so we'll take it loose. Take the nut off. Pull this piston off. There's a washer right there. Okay, this piston has two sides. One side has grooves in it. One side does not. You want the grooves facing down. So you want the grooves actually facing the cartridge. So take this nut off. Pull that piston out. Okay. Put this piston. Well, I say grooves. You got slots. Slots on one side, no slots on the other. You want the slots to face down. So put the slots on. Put the nut back on. By the way, this is a 3D printed shock holder, and you can get this thing on Thingiverse. The only modifications I made is I made this red one, the holes are 30 millimeter around, so that I can put the shock in there like this with the top facing down. So if I have to change shaft or something, I can just do it like this. Otherwise, the way the plans are, the body of the shock will fit down through these holes. But I got 4 holes I can put the body through, and I got 4 holes that I can just put them in top first. Now when you tighten this down, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be very tight. You just kind of want to snug it. Okay, so that's on there. And then what I like to do is take and make sure I get a little bit of oil, because you're gonna get some on your fingers anyway. Just kind of rub it around this right here. All right, and then we're gonna just thread it back down on there like so. If you get a little bit too much oil, it will squirt out the squirt out of there when you do this. So I like to hand tighten them. You don't really have to torque on them, but I'll hand tighten them, and then I'll grab it and give it maybe a quarter of a turn more. Okay. Slap the spring back on. Now when I put my springs on, I like putting the color at the top. That way I can just see it pretty easily. Put your perch back in there. Oh, I didn't even think about that, y'all. These shafts are 7mm, and these perches, yeah, that's. I bet it fits, but I bet it's tight. It is tight getting it past that shaft. Okay, there we go. So yeah, you got to pop it past that shaft. All right, get your shaft on there. Put your nut back in, or your keeper bolt back in. Run them down a little bit till they're snug. All right, that's one shaft done. Wow. I can't push that all the way down like that, okay? So if I can't push that all the way down, what else is that telling me? That's telling me that I've probably got, and I should have checked that. I probably got some air in this thing, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this. It means I put too much fluid in it. Take this back out. See if I can pop this perch back out of here, because it is a tight fit around that bigger shaft. And if I can't, then that's okay too. Yeah, I'm not gonna fight with that. Let's just put that back on there. I'll show y'all a different way. You should really check that before you put the spring back on. My bad. Okay. So instead, what I'm going to do is grab it like this, so I can hold it. Okay. And then I'm going to take a little .5 here, and I'm going to loosen this cap up just a little bit, and we're going to push down on it. And I'm still not going all the way. Okay, so let's loosen it up another half a turn. There we go. Now we got fluid coming out. See fluid coming out of that weep hole? Okay. This is why you should do this before you put the spring on, by the way. Makes it a lot easier. So now we're just gonna push it all the way to the bottom. And then I'm fighting the spring big time. And tighten it up. Okay. Woo, y'all. That was something. And then clean all this up as best you can. Shock fluid is a nasty business. Pull the spring down. See if I can get these threads cleaned up. There we go. I have dust all in my shock if I can't get any cleaner than that. So we're just going to clean it up. And I may come back and spray this one with some cleaner. But there you have it. There's one completely done. Alright. Stick that one off the side. Let's do this one the right way. Come on, come out of there. Before I start this one, let's put this on here. There's nothing wrong with these shafts. They're all good. I mean, 2 of them I just replaced. Because in my last video you watched, ended up being 2 shock shafts. Alright, so that's ready, that's ready. Let's get her apart. Fluid. There we go. Stick that right there. Pull that off. Pull that off. Snug that up on there, not that it really matters. Let's put this back on here. Snug that up. Rub a little oil from my hands around this. And let's stick it back in. Let's stick it back in there. There's hand tight. More. All right, let's check it this time. Yeah. See when it, okay, it pops back out like that. Yeah. We got too much fluid and we got air. So we're gonna grab it. 2.5 go. There it is. Gonna loosen this cap up. Like a turn. I'm actually going to put the rag up here. And then we're going to collapse that shaft. All the way to the bottom. Catching all the fluid. Once I get it to the bottom, we're just going to snug that cap back up. Okay, and now I can collapse the shaft all the way with ease. So you really want to work it. And then you want to see if you've got more air in it. Start with it down all the way. Loosen it back up. That's the way I should have done anyway. Okay. And then once you get to the bottom, snug it back up. There we go. Okay. Now, a lot of people are going to bleed these because, yeah, if it's doing that, there's air in the system somewhere. Okay. I like I said, I'm a big jump guy. I don't care. As long as the shock will collapse all the way, I don't care that it sits there and comes back out like that. That doesn't bother me one bit. So we're going to put the perch back on. There we go. Put our nut back in, or screw back in there, retainer, bolt. Snug it down. All right, there you go. There's two of them. Like I said, I've seen a lot of videos, people installing shocks, saying, hey, I put GPM shafts on. I never seen anybody do a video and showing how they actually put the shock, the GPM cartridges and shafts in there. If you have any questions, ask in the comments below. I'll put links to the shock shafts in there. If anybody wants a link to this STL so they can print one of these themselves, just shoot me a message and I'll put a link in there for that as well. Make sure you like and subscribe. And thanks for watching.